It's the Garnet Trust Hour on your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
All right, welcome in, everyone. Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Thanks for tuning in. Chris Clark here, Wes Mitchell, joined in studio today. Gamecock Football's Nick Gargiulo. Nick, appreciate you joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you here. I know you were telling us before you have done some radio before. So what's your radio experience? Did you just get in the booth and start playing music, or did you done some sports interviews, or what?
No, I had some interviews, during my undergrad that, I was on the radio for a little bit, but not too much experience. So I'm excited to see what 107.5's got to offer.
Yeah, man. Well, you'll be a lot better.
Disappoint.
Yeah, I know. I feel very under pressure now. You'll be a lot better than the host, I'm sure. We're the worst part of the show. But yeah, so you guys are jumping back in now to off-season workouts, going into summer workouts before you hit preseason camp. Spring ball obviously wrapped up a while back, so I know we want to look on that. We have a lot of ground to cover, but let's start here. This is your first year in Columbia, so what have you thought, just kind of generally, just from a life perspective, about Columbia moving down here?
Absolutely. So I had a real easy transition down here. I think coming into a program after playing college football for 4 or 5 years, you don't have that shock almost of transitioning into the football aspect of things. Now, moving away from home and down to South Carolina from the Northeast, where I lived all my life, it's a little bit of a culture shock, but I think I'm fitting in. I think I'm fitting in fine down here, so I've been enjoying it thus far.
So, has anyone warned you about the Columbia heat yet?
I heard the worst 3 things about South Carolina were June, July, and August.
I don't know if I heard that, but put it that way.
That's the perfect way to put it.
It's perfect.
It's whatever you've heard. It's that bad and a little bit worse. The heat is the asphalt too. Like it's the asphalt plus the heat, just it radiates. But I do feel like it kind of gets you ready. Like when you get into a game in September and it's hot out and it's the fourth quarter, it's going to be nothing like what you went through with Luke Day working out with your teammates on July 7th in the middle of Columbia. So are you ready for that aspect?
I don't know if I'll be fully ready, but I'll tell you this. You guys are absolutely correct. During all of winter workouts, the guys were telling me, hey, listen, this is bad, but just wait till the summer. They would just wait till we do this workout in the heat. So I'm excited. We start up here on Monday, so I'm excited to see how that's going to pan out.
So let's reverse in time a little bit. How do you end up going from Yale to South Carolina? Like, I guess maybe take us to the very beginning when you first heard from South Carolina and kind of how that process played out with you ended up transferring from there to here.
Yeah, so I finished up, the Ivy League plays 10 games, and so we finish up right before Thanksgiving every year. There's no postseason. So immediately after that, I entered the transfer portal, and I don't know if I could accurately describe how chaotic the transfer portal is, because it was right during final exam period, and so I had a lot going on. But my phone did not stop ringing for about 2 weeks straight, and so I was talking. My main purpose, I wanted to play big time football, and so I got the academic experience. I got a fantastic Ivy League football experience, but I wanted to play in the SEC. I wanted to play in the Big Ten. And really test my skills against the best guys in the country. And so after I entered the transfer portal, obviously I was getting blown up, and Coach Limbo came up to New Haven, and we had a little conversation in Ray Tompkins' house in New Haven. And obviously he gave me a little insight of what South Carolina is all about and how it's a culture-driven program, and it really resonated with me, and it was something that I wanted to be a part of. I came down here on an official visit, within 30 minutes, I was like, yeah, at the end of this, I'll tell Coach Beamer, this is where I'm going to end up. So it was a short experience, but it was great.
So who else were you kind of considering? I guess were there other schools that were maybe even close to possibly getting you, or, obviously once you got down here, you said it was pretty quickly, but who else were you kind of thinking about?
I had a lot of interest from Kentucky and Missouri and a few other SEC schools, but the one that was competing was Illinois, and I know that's a little different than South Carolina, but obviously with Coach Belema and his history of offensive linemen, that program is obviously on the uptrend as well. And I really like the O-line coach there, Bart Miller, but I just couldn't pass up on the South Carolina opportunity. So it was definitely in the conversation, but you saw how it ended up.
You said it took 30 minutes or whatever, where you're like, this is where I want to go. So what was it specifically? I know you were very interested in the SEC, but aside from that, what did you see where you were like, wow?
When I came down here, I wanted to know pretty much three things. I wanted to know how Coach Teasley and Coach Atkins operated. I wanted to know how Coach Day operated, and I want to know how Coach Beamer operated. And once those three guys checked the boxes, it was a no-brainer for me.
So, I was going to say, we're very big Pete Limbo fans here on this show.
That's what I was going to ask too. So
yeah, we're reading each other's minds. But what did Limbo have when you had that first conversation with Limbo? I got to imagine it maybe bounced around to quite a few different topics. Do you remember your first convo with Coach Limbo?
He definitely threw some historical facts and some things that I had no idea what he was talking about, but I put on a smile and pretended that I did. But he is a fantastic coach. He's an even better person, and he obviously we'll probably get into it at some point. But I played for Coach Reno, whose son Dante Reno's the four-star quarterback coming in 2024. But they have such a good relationship with that family as well. So when Pete came in, it was great for everyone involved.
I feel like Pete was probably very at home at Yale. Like he could be like the head coach at Yale one day. I feel like the high academic, like.
Absolutely, that's right up his alley. He would, like I said, he would probably be taking some classes while he's coaching too,
or teaching them.
But he's got the Italian in him too, so I think that was part of his pitch as well. But he loves the Northeast, so you see all of his tweets. The Northeast pipeline is starting up a little bit.
All right, so Italian, you gave us an easy in for a softball for a food segue. All right, so. Now, where are you from originally? Tell everybody.
I'm from Somers, New York. It's a suburb about 45 minutes north of the city.
Okay, so tell us your favorite Italian dish.
I would go with my mom's eggplant parm, and I think there's a large gap between the next dish. I
feel like there's always, when people have pasta opinions, tell me if I'm wrong, it's always like my mom's blank or my grandma's blank. Like my grandma's meatballs, because it can't be anybody else's. If it's not that person's, it's out.
You couldn't be more right.
Well, and I mean, if mom listens to added benefit of brownie points with mom.
Oh yeah, she's gonna love that one.
So shout out mom. Hopefully the fam listens in. But so you end up at South Carolina, right? Pretty easy transition once you got here, I guess. Or what was there? Let's ask it like this: was there a moment in spring ball or even in, winter workouts where you're like kind of looking around like, all right, I can do this, but I've got to kind of take it to another level with the athletes around me, basically.
Yeah, that started from the first day of winter workouts. You look around and the talent, the frame on guys, it's a different, it's a different animal. And so there's really the Ivy League doesn't get enough respect in how the quality of football that's played there, and there are really good players who could come down here and compete for spots in the SEC without a doubt. But I'll tell you this: the difference is all 11 guys on the field are SEC guys. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you'll have 3 or 4 on the field in an Ivy League game, but all 11 are fast, they're physical, they're smart, they're just a full package type player. And so coming down here, like I said, when I first started the winter workouts, I knew, hey, listen, I got to be on my game because I'm playing high quality football here.
Can you think of a guy, like within the first couple days, a few guys where you're just like, dang, look at that guy, like athletically, physically?
Yes. So Debo Williams at linebacker, he definitely hit me pretty hard a few times. And then I've seen on film, but I didn't get a chance to play because obviously he was injured during the spring, but Tonka Hemingway, just how dynamic he is on the interior. And then Nick Barrett, he's about 330 pounds, and I'm playing center and guard, and he's, rushing right down, at me. So that was definitely difficult to adjust to, but definitely got some good work in.
Did you see in the film from last year where Tonka's catching passes on special teams?
I did, and I also saw where he played about 95 snaps versus Notre Dame and never came out. So
he's really
he's
good.
Special, man.
yeah.
And he's like developed too. Like he's a guy that's come in, kind of highly recruited, but just every year step forward. How beneficial has that been for you? Obviously, Tonka wasn't out there, but there's a pretty good group on the defensive line. Just battling with those guys every day in spring ball.
That's where you get better, right? Every single day in practice, you go against these guys, and TJ Sanders and a ton of other talent as well. You just get better. You hone in on your technique, and it's beneficial for everyone. They're getting great work too, hopefully.
All right, going to take our first break here on the Garnet Trust Hour on 107.5 The Game. Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, with you here in studio with Gamecock Football's Nick Gargiulo. Be right back on the other side.
It's the Garnet Trust Hour on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
All right, welcome back into the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell with you in the Herndon Chevy Studios. We're with Gamecock Football's Nick Gargiulo. First segment down, Nick. Good stuff. You're a natural at this. Tell us about your previous. So you said you did some like sports radio interviews. Like what was that? Like when you were up at Yale?
Yeah, I don't. First off, I don't think I've ever been in this type of studio before, but various forms of interview. You learn how to schmooze a little bit and talk nice and clear, and so I think I learned a few things. Hopefully. Now
you were at Yale. You have a finance degree, is that right?
I
get that wrong.
An economics degree, which a similar path, but it's a liberal arts school, so you're not getting that. You're not getting that business or finance degree there.
What are you thinking about doing once football's done with that?
I haven't thought about it too much, which I know will stress my mom out a little bit, but I could definitely see going into some sort of banking or private equity or something. That's what a lot of my friends are doing now, and seeing how they enjoy it. It may be something I'll be interested in.
What's the coolest job that one of your former teammates has now?
I think the coolest ones are the ones that left their jobs to do startups. So I know a couple that had opportunities at Google and Microsoft and Tesla and all that. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm leaving to do my own tech startup. And you're like, oh geez. So shout out Sheun Amonajay. Hopefully he tunes in at some point.
Yeah. So they're working on their Series A or whatever right now instead of working at Google.
Yeah, well, if he wants to come on as an advertiser, we got a spot for him here on this show. He can be a sponsor. We'll happily accept him. Has anything surprised you about Columbia or South Carolina or SEC ball so far?
I don't think I've been surprised, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier, just because I've had this surprise in the past 5 years that I spent playing college football. I'll tell you this, when you first get in to your first college practice and experience, it is so overwhelming as you're 17 years old or, maybe some guys are 18 and you're just like, oh my God, I'm not cut out for this at all. That's, something that I experienced. But as you get older, you realize, hey, everyone has this feeling and I'm not alone in it. So coming down here, I think I've had a veteran approach almost.
What did you weigh when you got to Yale?
When I got to Yale, I was 262 pounds. And then I played I played left tackle for the first, our season was canceled during COVID. So the first 3.5, 4 years I played left tackle. My senior season or my, last season there, I played center. And then obviously down here, I've been playing a mix of guard and center. But I finished my Yale career playing at about 300 pounds. So it was a nice 38-pound gain. And, I think this will get some reactions on radio, too. I'm about 325 right now. So a lot of people were a little concerned that I wasn't going to weigh enough to play SEC ball because they were looking at my 270-pound recruiting profile from when I was in high school. But I think I got enough weight to get it done in here.
That was about 60 pounds ago.
Yeah,
basically.
Have you seen the picture of Cody Mauch, the guy who's playing for Tampa Bay? He's at North Dakota State. He started his career at tight end, and he was like 225 pounds, and now he's like 315 in the NFL. You got to see the comparison. It's hysterical.
The craziest one ever is Lane Johnson. Right? Lane Johnson from the Eagles. Have you seen his old recruiting profile? I'm going to pull it up and show you at some point if I can get it to pull up. He was out of high school a 202-pound quarterback. Jeez. And now he's Lane Johnson, which I guess he's probably, 315, playing left tackle in the NFL.
I'll tell you what, it's the O-line philosophy. You want guys that are athletes. You don't want to recruit a heavy guy who can't move out of high school. It's not conducive for their long-term growth. So you get a guy who's a little bit lighter, who's way more athletic, who's got ankle, hip, knee mobility, and then you mold him into a big guy.
Well, I mean, speaking of bio photos, Nick, have you taken a hard look at your Gamecocks online bio?
I love it, by the way.
Were you mad at the cameraman, or was this just?
He was begging me to smile, and I told him, no, I'm not going to do that. So if you want to laugh even harder, if you look at, if you go to the Yale website and look at my initial photo to my last, to my senior year roster photo, you guys will get a good laugh.
I think I've seen that because I think so. When your name popped up, like we cover recruiting on Gamecock Central. Hey, this guy from Yale, Nick Gargiulo, Google. But I think that's the first thing that pops up, and I'm like, well, Carolina's got to sign this guy.
My dad always found it hysterical on Twitter when I entered the portal. All the replies on Twitter like, this guy looks like a killer. We got to sign him on his looks alone. Why, this guy looks like he's 45.
For the record, how old are you, Nick?
I'm 22.
You're sure?
Yeah. Birth certificate.
Yeah. We're looking at his birth certificate right now.
It's written with pencil. And
Here's the Lane Johnson comparison, by the way. This is him. Obviously, radio listeners can't, but that's him. 202-pound quarterback, and whatever he is now, 320. You remember we saw him on the field, Wes, that year. He was, for some reason, working out in Columbia.
In Columbia.
He was down on the facility, and I was like, who was that giant moving like that?
Yeah, but Nick, you're right, man. You see more and more guys drafted in the first couple of rounds, and, ESPN will run the little story, and they tell you where they're from, tell you their path or whatever, and it'll be this 222-pound tight end, and they redshirted.
Yep. They
transitioned to offensive line, and they put on like 80 pounds during their time in college, as opposed to being, like you were talking about, a 340 guy in high school that's having to take a completely different path, I feel like.
I've heard from O-line coaches, they look for guys who obviously play football, but who are basketball players, who, run track, even big guys who run track or throw shot put and stuff, just to see you're the complete athlete and the complete package. So it definitely gives guys an advantage.
Yeah.
So, Coach Teasley and Adkins, you got a wealth of knowledge with both of those guys here at South Carolina. What has maybe stood out to you most, just kind of soaking that up and learning from those two guys so far?
I mean, they have so much knowledge, and so when I committed here, and this wasn't too long ago, obviously, Coach Atkins was still I guess he had the title of offensive line coach, but Coach Teasley was running the room, and obviously Coach Teasley's now taken it over, but he has so much knowledge, and his philosophy is like, hey, I'm going to give you a toolkit. I'm going to give you things to do in run pro and pass pro, and then I want you to go make it your own and utilize what works best for you. And so he's a player's coach. He's a great, a great leader. And just hats off to him. If you look at his coaching trajectory over the past 5 or 6 years, where he's gone in such a short period of time, he's a SEC O-line coach. And we were talking about it. He was at New Haven coaching D2 football 6 years ago. So it's what a incredible trajectory so far.
Yeah, and I think he really proved himself, right, because he had the opportunity to step in for Adkins part of the 2021 season, and obviously a good half of last season. And all the recruits we talked to, man, really liked him, really liked Teasley. And so I think that, Coach Beamer kind of saw something in him, and he proved himself recruiting and coaching, and now gets this opportunity. So tell us, positionally, you mentioned earlier, and we saw some of it in the spring, center and guard is what you focused on. I know you played center at Yale your last year. You played some left tackle, as you said. Did you play guard any at Yale?
No.
Okay.
So I'll tell you this, there is no debate, and I hopefully it'll bring some perspective to this. Tackle is the hardest position on the offensive line. Center, it gets a rap because you got to make some calls and you got to snap the ball, but it's definitely easier than tackle because at tackle you're on an island almost always. Maybe you'll get some help in when you're running gap scheme, but if you're in pass protection or most run plays, you're one-on-one. And so, the transition to center was different because, hey, you got help on both sides, which made guard, I think guard is the easiest spot to play because you got help on both sides. You don't have to make any calls. You could just go off and play fast, play physical. So I've been enjoying it thus far. And obviously position versatility is something that's valuable in the O-line room. So I've been embracing it for sure.
I think that's something Beamer and Teasley, Atkins, they've all talked about the last couple of years is it's not necessarily who's the next man up at a specific position. It's what gets the best five out there. And so you came in, I think we were all penciling in like first of all, the guy's coming from Yale. He's got to be smart. They need a center.
Yep.
We're like, he's going to be the starting center. And then you did. It seemed like when we were out there for the open portion of the practice, you played quite a bit of guard in the spring. Do you know kind of what that split was? Was it 50-50 or was it just kind of?
I think so. There was definitely so the other center is obviously Vershawn Lee.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely were just getting work. Spring ball is a time where people hate to hear this because all they want to know is who's the starter. Who they want to know the depth chart. They love it. But spring is just a time for everyone getting work in, and so you want to. The unfortunate reality of playing offensive line is someone's going to get hurt. Yep. Multiple people are going to get hurt. Some guys are going to miss 3-4 games and be able to come back. So you need to build continuity with everyone in the room because at some point they're going to play. And so that's what we were doing most of the spring, and which I assume we'll do for the majority of fall camp until we're up in Charlotte.
So there really isn't a depth chart. Coach Beamer's been telling us the depth chart does not exist. It doesn't matter. He's been trying to pull that one over on us.
So we have our player personnel guy, Derek Moore. We call him Demo. He likes to say the depth chart's written in pencil. So right now the depth chart's written in pencil. And even if I gave you the pencil version, I don't think I'd be a South Carolina football player tomorrow. So I can't give out any secrets.
But it does exist. It's just in pencil.
Yeah. I wonder if you go into the offense. I won't even make you answer this. I wonder if we go into the offensive line meeting room if there's a depth chart in pencil.
I feel like there probably is.
The depth charts come out right before practice. That's basically what you say. Hey, period 1, I'm going to be the one center. Period 2, I'll be the one left guard. Period 3, I'm back to center. So it definitely is just fluid.
Yep.
All right, right up against the break. We'll be back on the other side. I actually have a follow-up on the depth chart question, Nick. So we're Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell here on 107.5 The Game. Garnet Trust Hour with Gamecock Football's Nick Gargiulo. We'll be right back.
It's the Garnet Trust Hour on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Garnet Trust Hour here in the Herndon Chevy Studios, 107.5 The Game. Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell hanging out with you for about 30 more minutes. We're here with Gamecock Football's Nick Gargiulo. A little depth chart or non-depth chart talk in the last segment. So what I just thought of when y'all were talking in the last segment about like the depth chart is like, remember like in youth sports or like in school or like even in the movies where they take the piece of paper and they post it on the wall and then everybody's trying to go look at it. Like, how do y'all get the practice script where you see it? Okay, in period 1, I'm the first team guard. Like, how do you get that?
Wes, is he trying to get me in? Is he trying to get me in trouble?
No,
Does he want me to get thrown off the team?
First of all, let me just say, Nick, I think you're too valuable to the O-line for next year.
You could say anything.
To actually get thrown off. So the depth chart has been a running joke with us too, because Coach Beamer likes to say it doesn't exist, but then he also would say things like, it's fluid, and we're like, well, if it's fluid, it does exist.
Yeah. You need Coach Limbo to give you describe what that is in philosophy terms, and he'll be able to. But to answer your question, Chris, how we get all that information really just matters about efficiency in practice, right? You only get, let's just say, 2 hours out on the field. If you're, if you're not efficient in your movements and what we're doing and how we're doing it, you just waste time. And obviously we don't have we have a lack of time out there. So it's just trying to be efficient and get everything done.
How do you you're going to be doing grad school, obviously. What are you focusing on in grad school?
I'm going to be getting my master's in sports management. So I'm about 7 classes in right now.
Good deal. So you obviously are pretty busy. So how do you manage? You can go back to Yale or here at South Carolina. How do you manage your time? Because you don't have a lot of time. You don't have what you need really to practice and train, but it's still a lot. Like, it's a big commitment.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to priorities. That's really what it is. I love football. I really see the value in academics as well. And so those are my 2 priorities. Obviously, I'm a big family guy as well. So when you look at those 3 things, they're pretty time consuming. So there's not much room for much else. But I try and do a really, really good job at those 3 things because that's what I value.
So you were talking earlier about when you were coming in as the new guy, as a freshman back at Yale, and, you're kind of swimming a little bit. So next week, there's going to be a lot of guys in the O-line room. And I think a couple of them I saw on Twitter have already arrived on campus. They're going to be in the exact spot you were, 4 years ago, basically 5 years ago. And so Marquis Anderson already went through this back in January. I feel like you, though, probably have some knowledge you could impart on the new guys. Do you plan to kind of be that guy to maybe help them through the transition a little bit? And what would you tell them, or what will you tell the new guys coming in that are going to be like just hit over the head in the next week or so?
Yeah, I believe it's the responsibility. That's why veteran leadership is so important. I think it's the responsibility of the older guys in the room to bring the younger guys up to speed, to help them, to be a resource for them. Because that's what the older guys on my team did for me. They took me under their wing and showed me the right way to do things, and made the transition much easier. Because you got to remember, these kids, while it's difficult physically, it's going to be their first time away from home too. So they're looking for some sort of support. So I think that's what I'll try and provide to them, and it makes it way easier when they are willing to learn and want to learn. So hopefully those guys come in with that mindset, and it'll make the transition easier.
I remember we talked to Trey Knox. I think it was before spring, Wes. Yeah, before spring ball. So he'd gone through winter workouts, right? And he'd been at an SEC program at Arkansas, but we were asking him about the workouts with Coach Day, and he was like, I remember the first couple of days, I was like, what is this? Like, did you have any, not the physical part, right, but just mentally, like, hearing Coach Day talk, he's a different dude, right? He's not your typical, like, strength coach to me. Did you feel like it was way different? Did you have the same, like, what is some of this stuff, and what is he talking about?
I've had excellent strength coaches my entire career, really from high school on, but Coach Day is, like you said, he's different, but his style of leadership is he creates a vision for us, right? And he explains it really well and in depth, and then he asks us to go do things that align with that vision. And so, while his workouts are unorthodox, and you'll be doing a lot of things that maybe you've never done before, it's for a purpose, and it's for a clear, explained purpose. And so, I've really enjoyed it because I've been experienced with the Olympic type lifting and all that, all that style of workouts. And then Coach Day brings this approach of strengthening things you wouldn't think of, like your core or your hamstrings, your hips, all these different things that for an O-lineman, you think, oh, hey, look, I'm just going to squat and bench and get as strong as I can, and then you can't move, as opposed to Coach Day's like, hey, listen, we're going to focus on your ankle mobility here. And you're like, what is this guy talking about? And then all of a sudden you're performing better. So, I've been enjoying it.
So we get a glimpse at some of this stuff. They put the videos on Twitter. You weren't here last year when they did. So the Grit Day last year, they just, I think dropped them off in the middle of nowhere in South Carolina, and I think they had to crawl back to Columbia or something. This year, they're out there digging stuff into the ground, and y'all are pulling up buckets and running them to Williams-Brice. We've asked multiple guys about this so far, but what had you done anything like that? before? What do you think of that?
We had similar, the way I like to think of it is that's not a workout. That's a toughness drill, right? It's just who's going to quit first or who's going to, who doesn't want to strain till they can't strain anymore. So I've experienced some of that, but I don't know. I'm a little mad at Coach Day because he didn't release the results of the Grit Night. So I think you'd see a familiar name up there with me and Connor Cox finishing that Grit Night first. So I've chirped him a little bit for it. But definitely a great experience. And then really what it boils down to is team bonding. You want to be able to say, I've went through really tough times with these guys. So when really tough times come around, you're familiar with it and you're comfortable.
I feel like that's kind of fun, right? Like I know in the moment, it's one of those things I feel like some people go run a marathon, and I never want to run a marathon personally, but I get it. Like there's certain grueling things, especially if you're doing it with your teammates, like with your brothers, that may not necessarily be everybody's example of fun, but completing it, there's a certain, almost a natural high that comes along with that. Like, did you get that with the Grit Night this time? Or
Wes, I totally agree. I think if you're a competitive person and you enjoy things like that, it is a blast. Some of the unorthodox things you're thinking, like a lot of guys are going to try to find the easy way out here, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna see if I can be a maniac and go straight through. So I especially enjoy that, and like you said, there's some fulfillment there in finishing it. I remember after the Grit Night, I called my brothers and I explained it to them, and I was so fired up. I was like, you guys will not believe what just happened.
So Wes and I always, like, anytime newcomers get to campus, whether it's a freshman or especially nowadays transfers like yourself, you always start to hear things trickling out about certain guys that are doing well. And you were one of them, that we consistently heard some good returns about, ability to contribute and how you were. But I'm not going to say I heard maniac like you just described, but we heard some interesting adjectives to describe you, like, because you're just a nice, like, even keel guy, but on the field, like, do you kind of flip a switch a little bit?
I try to. Like I said earlier, I try and approach the game violently because I think that's what you have to be as an offensive lineman. No one likes the offensive lineman who's soft and gets blown back off the ball. You want the guy who's driving someone 15 yards down the field and pinning them on the floor. That's what you look for in offensive line play. Obviously, when you're not looking at the skill positions. But that was been my whole approach, and as we spoke about, there's this pressure to go from the Ivy League to the SEC. You got to prove yourself. So every single day, I wanted to prove myself by straining a little bit longer and playing as hard as I could. So, yep.
So yeah, maniac, basically. What word would you use to describe yourself on the field? Do you have one, or? Everybody else decide that.
Yeah, I think that's up for the viewers to decide. I think we should maybe see some tweets about it or something.
Okay, there you go.
Send out a poll.
Yeah.
I don't think I heard maniac. I do think I might have heard, like, crazy. Like, that's a compliment to you?
I think it is.
It's got to be a compliment.
Definitely for an offensive lineman. Like,
yes.
There's a couple positions, like, I feel like linebacker, you want crazy. D-line, definitely O-line.
Yeah, nobody wants, this O-line guy here. Completely even kill on the field.
Just mild-mannered like, on the field. Yeah, you don't want, like, that quarterback is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want that.
Yeah, O-line, though.
O-line.
That's what you want.
You want your quarterback calm under pressure. You want your O-line bringing the pressure. That's what you're looking for.
That's a good one. You're putting it the right way. All right, one more segment on the other side with Nick Gargiulo from Gamecock Football. This is the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game.
It's the Garnet Trust Hour on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
All right, final segment with Gamecock Football's Nick Gargiulo. I'm Chris Clark. Wes Mitchell joining me here in the Herndon Chevy Studios. You're listening to the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. So, Nick, some of your teammates, want to ask you some questions about them. Wes actually invoked the name of Marquis Anderson earlier, a freshman, and you're talking about some of the movement skills that offensive line coaches like to see in offensive linemen when they're scouting them. Marquis moves really well. Tell us, kind of give us your scouting report on him from what you saw this spring.
I am so impressed with Marquis Anderson. I think he's going to be a fantastic player here for the Gamecocks. I'll tell you, his strength is the power in his punch. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what he's throwing around in the weight room, but I'll tell you this: when he's in pass protection and he throws his punch, you feel it. If you're a D lineman, like you're almost, hey, I got to counter this before he gets his hands on me, or I'm gonna be on the sidelines with Clint Haggard doing rehab. And so I think, obviously, he's just going to continue to grow and get better and put on muscle and improve his athleticism. He's just going to be a real force. And you mentioned it earlier, but the talent that Coach Teasley's bringing in with these young O-line classes is nothing short of incredible. So I think there's a lot of hope for the South Carolina O-line, obviously for this season. But looking into the future, you got some real talented prospects.
You obviously talked earlier about your plans after ball, like off the field. Has coaching crossed your mind? I mean, just listening to you talk, I feel like you got a little, maybe there's a coaching bug in there. You got to love it to be a coach. Like, it is obviously a grind. Has that crossed your mind at all?
Without a doubt. I definitely don't think I want to stray too far from the game. I want to play as long as I can. And then you see all these guys, once their career's over, they just want to get back involved in some matter, and whether it's broadcasting or coaching or something, definitely crossed my mind. And you see the difference that coaches have on the trajectory of, kids and college students' careers. It's remarkable.
How impressed with you? Another teammate question. How impressed were you as soon as you got to campus and you just saw Spencer Rattler throw the football, like his arm strength?
I mean, he is fantastic. I think that there's no way to accurately describe his talent. And then I think he's a fantastic leader as well. He commands the offense. He's a real cerebral player in a sense of he knows if anyone goes to him about something on the field, he knows what everyone's doing. And I just can't imagine. Obviously, I know what 5 guys are doing on the field, but now all of a sudden I got to know 10 other positions. No way. So give him credit there.
I know Coach Loggins comes in and brings in his offense, and one thing we've heard is they want it to be QB friendly, want it to be O-line friendly. Have you, I guess, seen it to be a pretty smooth transition for you as far as like what you did at Yale schematically, and then what is being asked of the offensive line within this scheme?
Yeah, without a doubt. There's only so many ways that you could run power. There's only so many ways that you could run inside zone. It's all very similar, but what you get from Loggins is just a presence almost. You know his experience in the NFL and the highest level and the success that he's seen, and then you're all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this guy's in the same room. He's my coach. I know I've definitely been grateful for it, but he's an even better person too. So it's been a real easy transition.
So don't give away. I know we almost got you in trouble earlier, or there was a possibility of it. But so don't give us too much away. But there has been a lot of talk about like identity of the offense and what it's going to look like. And Loggins and Beamer have even said, "Hey, we're going to kind of take the spring, and you got to kind of figure some things out, right? Like year one of him installing the offense. But what did you see schematically from it? Don't give us too much, but give us, I don't know, a hint."
I wouldn't say schematically I give you anything. What you're trying to forge in the spring is an identity of who you guys are. So I'll tell you this: we're going to be a physical offense, and we're gonna strain to and through the whistle. That's what you're trying to build, and so you got to those habits come out over the course of the spring. But it really, this is going to sound a little backwards, but this is my offensive line perspective. If you're building an identity around scheme, you're in the wrong business. You got to build an identity around culture and core values. And so if you're aligned on offense with your culture and core values, you could run whatever scheme you want. You're going to be successful.
I see why you picked Shane Beamer. Like, I feel like you just gave the description of the overall brand of the program at South Carolina. Maybe that's what you saw in those first 30 minutes, I feel like, when you visited here. But one thing about this show, we like to give the fans a little glimpse at who you are away from the field as well. So if you're not playing football, you're not working out, you're not eating mom's eggplant parm. So it can't have anything to do with football or getting ready for football or anything like that. What are you doing with your free time? Are there any secret hobbies? Just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
There is a new hobby.
Okay.
And
this is going.
so I started golfing. And golfing is a microcosm of playing center as far as snapping. So you got to approach the ball the same way. You got to grip the club the same way you grip the football. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm looking at sort of an escape from football, and all of a sudden I'm just playing again. But I went up and I saw Tom over at Party. A little shout out there. I don't know if I'll get you in trouble with your sponsors, but he's been fantastic. I got a few lessons from him, and so I've been trying to get on the course. I haven't got out there in a couple weeks, but I'm going to get back out there.
So has the football team gotten the golf bug?
Apparently.
Like, I feel like this is coming up a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen Spencer and Tanner and Stone and all them. It's like they're their own, foursome going out on the course. So I think maybe it's a way to bond away from the field. That's what you got to look at it as.
Have you seen Mitch Sheeter drive this thing?
Oh yeah, him and Kai are a different breed. I haven't had the guts to go play with them. I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to the driving range. And I'm like, please don't come because I don't want you to see this.
Be picking you apart.
Yeah. I'm like, this is a raw product.
Yeah, I think Kai and Mitch and Hunter Rogers, Jack Mahoney, Boogie Huntley's gotten a little into golf.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody we bring in here, like, what do you like to do? Oh, I've been golfing lately a lot. It's been crazy.
Yeah, I heard Mitch and Kai.
No,
I guess they're ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
they're really good. You get a lot of answers if you ask who's the best. Like, there's a few guys that come up consistently, but there's some differing opinions there.
I'll tell you this: whenever someone posts their golf swing in slow-mo to Twitter or Instagram, they're a good golfer. That's just because I wouldn't let anybody see. I'm like blocking the cameras, like, do not record this, please.
Making sure nobody's looking before you tee off.
Yeah.
I mean, is it that bad, Nick? Like, it's just not ready for public.
It's not ready for public. It's I started about 2 months ago, so it is brutal.
Right, well,
have y'all seen the Charles Barkley?
yeah, it's
better than that.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it is.
If you don't pause for like an hour in the middle of your swing, then you're doing better than Charles Barkley. All right, do us this favor, though. So, how long do you need on the swing?
To
Will you
get
have
back
it by preseason camp?
I think I will. I mean, once these summer classes finish up, I think you'll have to drag me away from
before game one. Let's make it the goal to post the golf swing on Twitter.
Oh no!
It's slow-mo.
Listen, let's transition. The three of us will go get around in. I don't know if that'll ever happen if I'm posting that, but we'll see.
I'll go play because it sounds like I don't have to be nervous about
there's no judgment.
I'm awful. I mean, let's do this. I will say this though. This is the social media world, Nick. You can have 72 awful swings. All you need is one to post on there and look at my swing on social media.
I'll put it into ChatGPT and try and get an artificial swing.
There you go.
Well, the Photoshop has the new tool now where you can do anything in the background. So just show my ball going off. All right, so one more off-field thing or maybe a couple more things here in our last couple minutes. So obviously you're here. Cool thing about NIL is you can do this now. Back in the day, you might have been suspended, or you definitely would have been suspended. So how's it been working with the guys at Garnet Trust? And then just in general, tell us your thoughts on NIL and just being able to capitalize on that as a college athlete.
Yeah, I've been working with Jeremy over at Garnet Trust, and he has been nothing short of fantastic with me. And it's really remarkable to see how much people care about supporting you and helping you achieve whatever goals you may have, personal, financial, or anything in that aspect. But I was down in, I guess over, maybe not down, in Charleston doing the wing eating contest. So I don't know if you guys saw any clips of that, but Vershawn Lee put on a clinic, both home team events, and no one was even close. So we had a great turnout at those events, and so many Gamecock fans supporting us. And I just appreciate it. That's just, that's just what it boils down to.
So how many wings can you put back?
Well, here's the thing. I was looking around like, I'm going to win this without it. I was confident, and that I couldn't be more wrong. I got through like 12, let's just say, and Vershawn had 25 deleted. And so I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then I was like, we had 2 events. So after the first event, I'm in my apartment, and I'm like auditing how I was eating the chicken wings. I'm like, maybe if I get the meat off the bone, I could eat it quicker. We go to the second event, and he beats me even worse. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not cut out for it.
Was he like dipping them in water like the hot dog guy? Like,
no,
I don't feel like that would work.
No, he wasn't. But I'll tell you this. There's something's piqued my interest at Jack Brown's, the burger spot.
Yeah.
There's something on the wall that says 10 burgers is the record for most burgers eaten there. So I think at some point this summer I'm going to get down there.
You could take that down?
I think I could do 11 without a doubt. If you do single patty, I think as an offensive lineman it would be wrong of me to not try. So I think at some point I'll be down there.
Well, I'm just going to say that I have full confidence in you to do that. Chris over there looked at you.
Yeah,
like,
wait, what was that about? I thought maybe we build up a little equity here.
He's like, you think you can do 10? What do you do?
10 burgers is a lot. I feel like that's like that.
Well, it depends on the size of the burger.
Yeah,
like some burgers have like the patties like that. Some burgers it's smaller.
Have you guys been to Jack Brown's?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
How much are they paying you for this?
No. I got to talk to them and get a deal going because
yes, Jeremy Smith, if you're listening, Garnet Trust.
Yeah, let's make that. Let's make them pay for you to eat those burgers.
Yeah, and then we'll film it and the golf swing.
Yes.
All right. Unfortunately, Nick, we're about out of time. Wish we could do. We'll have to do this again before preseason.
Yeah, this is fun.
This has been fun. We'll do it again. Appreciate you coming in, man.
Absolutely,
hope
guys.
you had a good time too. Best of luck to you as you continue to go through workouts here in the summer. Best of luck to you off the field as well. All right, that's Nick Gargiulo from Gamecock Football. For Wes Mitchell, I'm Chris Clark. You've listened to the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game.